The city of Zephyria glowed under three suns, but the streets felt empty and cold to Lyra, Yara, and Sela, three alien widows struggling to survive. They had lost their husbands in the recent trade wars that destroyed countless lives across the galaxy. Their small home was barely standing, and the food in their pantry was almost gone. Today, they hoped to find work, any job that would keep them alive and give them some hope. The widows dressed carefully in their tattered robes, trying to hide the bruises of hardship on their skin. Lyra led the way, her blue eyes full of quiet determination. "We can't stop now," she whispered. "We must try every door." Yara nodded, clutching her basket of scraps, and Sela stayed silent, staring at the tall buildings that seemed to look down at them with cruel indifference. Their first stop was a small workshop that made starship parts. The sign above the door flickered in orange light. "Workers wanted," it read, but when they stepped inside, a gruff voice barked, "No aliens allowed." The widows froze for a moment, then bowed their heads and left quietly. The door slammed behind them with a sound that echoed like a warning. They walked through crowded streets, passing alien merchants and human traders. Everyone seemed too busy to notice three desperate women. Some looked away with disgust, others whispered behind their hands, "Why are they still alive?" Lyra swallowed the bitter feeling in her throat. "Don't lose hope," she said softly. "One door will open. We just have to find it." Next, they approached a cantina that advertised cleaning jobs. Yara stepped forward, hoping for kindness, but the owner, a tall reptilian alien with yellow eyes, shook his head. "We don't hire widows." His words cut like knives, and Sela's hands trembled as she held the basket closer. The door shut, leaving only a cold draft behind. Hours passed, and the sun began to sink, casting long shadows over the streets. The widows felt fear creeping in. What if they could find no work? What if they had to leave the city and risk the dangerous outskirts? Hunger gnawed at their stomachs, and worry weighed down their hearts. Still, they did not speak of giving up. Their spirits were fragile, but not broken. Finally, as the first stars appeared in the sky, they saw a small building glowing with soft blue light. A sign read, "Human Help Center, jobs available." Lyra felt a spark of hope. Maybe this is our chance," she whispered. The three widows approached carefully, unsure if humans would treat them kindly. After all, humans were strangers in their world, unpredictable and powerful. The door opened slowly, and a man appeared. His uniform was plain, his eyes kind but sharp. He looked at the three widows with curiosity. "Can I help you?" he asked. His voice was gentle, but it carried authority. The widows exchanged nervous glances, hope rising like a fragile flame. Could this human be the one to finally give them a chance? As they stepped inside, the city's noise faded behind them, and for the first time in days, a small smile appeared on Lyra's face. Something about this man made them feel safe. Even if the world had turned its back on them, maybe, just maybe, a human could help. And at that moment, none of them knew that this single choice would change not only their lives, but the fate of the people around them. The widows stepped cautiously inside the Human Help Center, their eyes scanning the clean walls and soft blue lights. Everything felt different from the cold, harsh streets. The man behind the counter watched them closely, his expression unreadable, but not unkind. "Sit," he said, motioning to a row of chairs. His voice was calm, but firm, like someone used to people expecting answers. Lyra, Yara, and Sela hesitated, then lowered themselves onto the chairs. Their bodies ached from walking all day, but their minds were alive with curiosity and fear. "I am Corin," the man said. "And you are?" Lyra cleared her throat. "I am Lyra. This is Yara and Sela," she said softly. Each word felt heavy, as if speaking aloud might make their hopes shatter. Corin nodded, studying them, as if weighing their worth. "We need work," Lyra said finally. "We have no food, no money, no home." Corin leaned back, folding his arms. "Why should I hire you?" he asked bluntly. The question made the widows flinch. They were used to rejection, but not honesty like this. Yara spoke next, her voice trembling. "Because we will work hard. We will do anything." She looked at Corin, pleading, "Please, we just need a chance." Sela stayed quiet, tears pooling in her large violet eyes. The air felt thick, heavy with hope and fear. Corin studied them for a long moment. Then he stood and walked around the counter. His eyes scanned their worn clothes, the tired faces, the small scars of life on their arms and necks. "I do not often hire strangers," he said slowly, "especially not widows." He paused. "But sometimes, a risk is worth taking." He turned to a nearby terminal and typed quickly. A list of small jobs appeared on the screen. "I have work for you," he said. "Cleaning, repairing, delivering. It is not much, but it will keep you alive." Lyra's heart leapt. Yara gasped, and Sella blinked rapidly, afraid. It was a dream. Do you accept? Corin asked, folding his arms again. His eyes were sharp but kind. The widows nodded together, almost instinctively. Yes, Lyra said, anything. Corin gave a small nod and handed them each a small badge. The badges glowed faintly, marking them as employees for the day. Their first assignment was simple but dangerous. They were to deliver small packages to a warehouse on the outskirts of the city. The streets there were empty, filled with shadows, and rumors of thieves and gangs spread fear among travelers. Yet Corin trusted them, and they trusted him. As they walked through the city, holding the glowing packages carefully, the widows felt something new. Pride. We can do this, Lyra whispered. We are alive. We have a chance. Yara smiled faintly, and Sela even laughed softly. Their laughter was small, fragile, but it cut through the fear like a blade. They reached the warehouse, a massive structure looming over them. The doors were old and rusty, and strange noises came from inside. Their hearts raced, but they pushed forward, carrying the packages like treasures. They entered, the lights flickering as shadows danced across the walls. Inside they met other workers, humans and aliens alike. Some stared at the widows, curiosity and suspicion in their eyes, but no one stopped them, no one mocked them. For the first time, Lyra, Yara, and Sela felt like they belonged somewhere, even if only for a moment, and as the packages were delivered safely, Corin watched from a distance, a faint smile on his lips. He did not yet know how much these three widows would change everything, but the first step had been taken, and the galaxy was about to witness something it had never imagined before. The next day, the city of Zephyria seemed quieter, almost too quiet. Lyra, Yara, and Sela arrived at the Human Help Center, their badges glowing faintly in the morning light. Corin was already there, reviewing a map of the city. Today, he said, looking up, your work is different. You will go to the old district, where the abandoned factories stand. It is dangerous, but it is also where supplies are most needed. The widows exchanged nervous glances. The old district was known for crime, rogue aliens, and strange accidents. But they did not hesitate. Not now, not after yesterday. We can do it, Lyra said, her voice quiet but firm. Yara and Sela nodded. Their hands clenched tightly around their baskets and glowing packages as they entered the narrow streets of the old district. The buildings seemed to lean over them, casting long, threatening shadows. Every step echoed through the silent streets, making their hearts beat faster. A soft wind carried the smell of rust and decay, reminding them of nights they had spent hungry and cold. Halfway through, Sela froze, pointing to a figure crouched in the shadow. Lyra, look, she whispered. The widows held their breath, watching as a small group of alien thugs emerged, their eyes sharp and cruel. You again, one hissed, recognizing the widows from the day before. Thought you could escape us? Lyra stepped forward, her chest tight with fear and courage. We do not want trouble, she said, trying to sound steady. Yara held her sister's arm. Sela's hands shook, but before the thugs could move closer, a sudden hum filled the alley. A blue light appeared behind the widows, and Corin stepped out, his hand glowing. The energy from him made the thugs stumble back. You will not harm them, Corin said, his voice low and sharp. The thugs hissed, but slowly retreated, disappearing into the shadows. The widows exhaled, relief from looting through them, but they also felt something new, confidence. They had faced danger, survived, and learned they could rely on themselves and Corin. They continued to the abandoned factories, each step more deliberate than the last. The doors were heavy and rusty, squealing as they pushed them open. Inside, the air was thick with dust, the walls lined with broken machines and crates. But hidden among the debris were supplies, food, and tools that could save lives. Lyra carefully picked up a glowing crate, her hands steady despite the weight. We did it, she whispered. Yara and Sela moved quickly, stacking the supplies with care. Their teamwork had improved, and each movement was confident. They were no longer weak widows. They were survivors, fighters in their own right. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed from above, sending a cloud of dust down the factory walls. The widows froze, fear gripping them. Corin appeared again, his presence calm and commanding. Stay behind me, he said, guiding them through the shadows to safety. Every step felt dangerous, yet somehow they moved faster than fear. Finally, after hours of work, the supplies were ready for delivery, stacked neatly in the abandoned warehouse for transport. The widows looked around, their faces smeared with dust and sweat, but their eyes shone with pride. They had faced danger, survived threats, and done work that mattered. As the sun began to set, casting orange and red streaks across the city, Corin handed them a small meal. You did well today, he said, his eyes serious but kind. The widow smiled, exhausted but exhilarated. For the first time they felt hope was not fragile. It was strong, real, and something they could fight for. And somewhere deep in Zephyria, whispers began. The widows, they are not weak. The city, the streets, even the people around them began to notice. Slowly, quietly, the wag. Ido's courage was changing the world around them, one step, one day, one human at a time. The widows returned to the Human Help Center the next morning, their muscles aching from yesterday's work, but their hearts were light with pride. Corin was waiting, his face serious. Today will test more than your strength, he said. It will test your trust. Lyra frowned, her brow furrowing. Trust? She asked. Yara and Sela exchanged nervous glances. Corin nodded. There are people who do not want you to succeed, he said. Some of the aliens in the city see widows as weak. Others see opportunity in your struggle. You must be careful. The widows listened, tension rising in the pit of their stomachs. They had survived hunger, rejection, and even the streets of Zephyria, but now they faced a different danger, one that came not from the shadows, but from within the city they were trying to serve. Their task today was to deliver a special shipment of food and medical supplies to the outskirts. Beyond the city walls, near the abandoned factories that still hummed with danger, the widows walked with caution, their badges glowing softly, the crates balanced carefully in their arms. Halfway there, a familiar figure stepped out from behind a ruined wall. Lyra, Yara, Sela, a smooth voice called. I can help you carry the load. It was a young alien man, wearing a uniform similar to the city workers. His eyes were friendly, his smile convincing. Lyra hesitated. Who are you? She asked. Yara tensed. We do not know you. Sela clutched her basket tightly. The man laughed softly. I am Narek, he said. I work with supplies too. I just want to help. Corin appeared behind them silently, watching, but he did not intervene. Do you trust him? He asked, his voice low. We have no choice, Lyra said, shrugging reluctantly. He seems kind. We need help today. Narek nodded and took a crate, walking beside them. I know a shortcut, he said confidently, leading them down. And a narrow path through the ruins. The path was dark and narrow, the walls leaning in as if watching them. Sela shivered, sensing something was wrong. Suddenly, the ground beneath them shook. A trapdoor snapping open. Lyra, Yara, and Sela screamed as they fell into a hidden pit. Narek's laugh echoed above them, cruel and cold. Did you really think I wanted to help? He sneered. The widows hit the ground hard, pain shooting through their bodies. Corin jumped after them, a surge of energy surrounding him. Narek froze, raising his hands defensively. Stay back, he yelled. But Corin's power pulsed through the air, a warning stronger than words. The widows scrambled to their feet, hearts pounding, their fear now mixed with anger. Why? Lyra shouted, trembling. We trusted you. Narek sneered. Trust is weakness, he said, and I do not like weakness in my city. Corin stepped between Narek and the widows. You will not harm them, he said, his voice sharp, unyielding. The widows watched as Corin's energy pushed Narek back, forcing him to retreat. For the first time they understood the danger was not only in the streets or factories, it was also in the hearts of those who envied them, who saw them as easy prey. Breathing heavily, Lyra turned to Corin. We could have been trapped forever, she whispered. Yara and Sela nodded, their hands shaking. Corin shook his head. You were brave. You survived because you trusted carefully, he said, handing them their crates again. The path to the outskirts now felt longer, darker, but the widows moved with renewed strength. Their fear had not disappeared, but it had become fuel, a reminder that danger could come from anyone, anywhere. But together, with courage, and with Corin, they could survive. Night had fallen over Zephyria, the city bathed in the dim glow of streetlights and distant towers. Lyra, Yara, and Sela returned to the Human Help Center after another long day, their steps tired but steady. They had survived betrayal, fear, and danger, but none of them knew what awaited them tonight. Corin was waiting, his expression darker than usual. The city is not safe after dark, he said. There are groups that prey on workers, especially those who are widows. You must stay alert. Trust no one you do not know. The widows nodded, but a feeling of unease settled in their stomachs. They had been careful, brave, but something about tonight felt different. They were about to learn why, as they walked through the outer streets carrying crates of medicine and food. A sudden roar split the air. Flames erupted from the side of a nearby building, sending sparks and smoke into the sky. Citizens screamed and ran in all directions. The widows froze, their eyes wide, hearts pounding. Stay together, Corin shouted, rushing forward. We must get to the source of the fire and save what we can. The widows followed, adrenaline replacing exhaustion. As they approached the burning building, they realized it was not an accident. Someone had set it deliberately. The smoke stung their eyes, and the heat pressed against their faces, but they pressed on. Inside, shadows moved, figures darting between flames. The widows recognized the scavengers from before, now joined by others, armed with strange energy tools. They were blocking the safe exit, trapping innocent workers inside. Lyra clenched her fists. "We cannot let them win," she whispered. Yara and Sela nodded, their fear still there, but now replaced with determination. They remembered everything they had survived, every danger they had faced. This was another test, maybe the hardest yet. Corin stepped forward, his hand glowing, energy crackling in the air. "Move carefully," he warned. "I will protect you as best I can." The widows weaved between falling debris, carrying crates of food and medicine to the trapped workers, guiding them towards safety. One of the scavengers lunged toward them, but Corin raised a barrier, the force knocking the attacker back. Sparks flew, and the widows jumped over a small fire, hearts racing. Every second felt like an eternity. Every movement mattered. Sela spotted a worker trapped under a fallen beam. Without hesitation, she lifted with all her strength. Lyra and Yara joined her, pushing the beam aside. The worker scrambled free, gasping for air. "Thank you," he said, tears in his eyes. The widows continued, rescuing everyone they could. The fire roared, the heat burning their skin, but their courage never faltered. Even the scavengers seemed surprised at their bravery, unsure how widows could move so fast, act so fearless. Finally, after what felt like hours, all the trapped workers were safe. The scavengers fled into the night, their plans destroyed. Corin lowered his hands, exhausted but proud. "You did it," he said. "You saved lives tonight. You showed real courage." The widows stood outside the building, watching the flames die down, their faces streaked with soot, sweat, and tears. But their eyes shone, stronger than ever. They had faced betrayal, fire, and danger, and had survived. They were no longer widows in the eyes of the city. They were heroes. As the first light of dawn touched Zephyria, whispers began to spread. The widows. They fought through fire and shadows. They are fearless. The city that once ignored them now watched in awe. And Lyra, Yara, and Scylla knew, deep in their hearts, that the final challenge was coming, one that would test everything they had learned. The city of Zephyria was silent in the early morning, smoke from the night's fire curling into the sky. Lyra, Yara, and Sela walked slowly toward the Human Help Center, their bodies aching, their minds heavy with exhaustion. But something had changed. Something inside them burned brighter than any fatigue. Corin met them at the entrance, his face stern but proud. "Today," he said, "the final challenge awaits. The Council of Zephyria has sent a test. They want to see if you truly deserve the trust and respect you have earned." The widows exchanged nervous glances. Their journey had brought them from despair to courage, from hunger to hope, from fear to strength. Yet now the ultimate trial waited, one that would decide their place in the city forever. The path led them to the central square, where the council awaited. Dignitaries and leaders of alien worlds gathered, their eyes cold, curious, some skeptical. All watched silently, waiting to see what three widows could do. Corin whispered, "Do not hesitate. Trust your instincts. Remember what you have survived." Lyra nodded. Yara and Sela followed, their steps confident, though their hearts still raced. A voice boomed from the council podium. "Three widows," it said. "You have shown courage, but now, prove your worth. Rescue the citizens trapped in the collapsing bridge beyond the city walls." The widows looked at each other, fear creeping back. The bridge had collapsed hours ago during the recent storm. Many had tried to save the citizens before, but failed. The task seemed impossible, but they did not hesitate. Lyra led the way, her glowing badge illuminating the path. Yara and Sela close behind. Each step through the debris-strewn streets reminded them of everything they had overcome. Every danger they had survived had prepared them for this moment. When they arrived, the bridge was a nightmare of twisted meaty. All in broken beams, citizens were trapped, terrified, some calling for help. The widows did not falter. They leapt over gaps, lifted beams, and guided the frightened people to safety. Corin hovered above, using his energy to stabilize parts of the bridge, giving the widows room to act. Sparks flew, the wind howled, and pieces of the bridge fell into the river below. Yet the widows pressed on, their courage unstoppable, their teamwork flawless. Sela saved a small child dangling from a broken rope. Yara pulled an elderly alien to safety, and Lyra coordinated the escape, her voice calm but firm, directing citizens to the safest paths. The crowd watched in awe, seeing bravery where none expected. Finally, the last citizen was safe. The bridge collapsed entirely behind them, but no lives were lost. The council remained silent for a moment, then, one by one, they stood and applauded, their faces filled with respect, amazement, even fear. "You have done what many could not," the council leader said, his voice trembling slightly. "You are no longer just widows. You are protectors of this city. Your courage has changed Zephyria forever." The widows looked at each other, smiles breaking across their tired faces. Tears of relief and pride ran down their cheeks. They had faced hunger, betrayal, fire, and death. Yet they had risen above it all, stronger than anyone had imagined. Corin approached them, placing a hand on each of their shoulders. "You have earned your place," he said. "The city will never forget you, and neither will I." As the sun rose fully, bathing Zephyria in golden light, whispers filled the streets. The widows, the heroes of the city, unstoppable. The widows stood together, battered but victorious, knowing that no darkness, no danger, no betrayal could ever break them again. The city had tried to ignore them. The streets had tried to reject them. Now the widows had proven that courage, trust, and hope were stronger than fear, and Zephyria would remember their names forever. The city of Zephyria was quiet in the early morning, but the streets buzzed with whispers of the three widows who had changed the fate of the city. Lyra, Yara, and Sela walked together, their steps lighter than ever, yet their eyes were alert, knowing that fame often brought new danger. Corin followed behind, his energy shield pulsing faintly, a silent reminder that danger never truly disappeared. "People will come," he warned. "Some will admire you, others will envy, some may even try to challenge you." The widows nodded, memories of the collapsing bridge, the fire, and the betrayal still fresh in their minds. "We survived before," Lyra said. "We can survive again." Yara smiled faintly. Sela adjusted her glowing badge, determination burning in her eyes. Their first stop was the Human Help Center, which had grown larger and busier since their fame spread. Citizens from across the city came to ask for guidance, advice, or just to see the heroes who had faced death and danger and survived. A small group of children ran to them, holding handmade gifts. "Thank you for saving our families," one shouted. Lyra knelt, taking the little alien into her arms. "We only did what was right," she said softly, tears forming at the corners of her eyes, but the celebration was short-lived. Corin's gaze shifted to the sky, his senses alert. "Trouble is coming," he murmured. A fleet of alien drones appeared at the horizon, scanning the city, their sleek metallic bodies glinting, their presence cold and threatening. The widows froze, fear creeping back, but it was tempered with courage. "What do they want?" Yara whispered. Sela tightened her grip on the emergency kits, ready for anything. Corin shook his head. "To test you, or to challenge you, I cannot say, but you must act fast." Without hesitation, the widows moved, guiding citizens to safety while assessing the drones. Their experience over the past days had taught them quick thinking, teamwork, and trust. Lyra shouted instructions, her voice steady. "Take shelter in the buildings. Keep calm." The drones descended, scanning every alley, but the widows were ready. Corin extended his energy shield, deflecting the first wave, while Yara and Sela used crates, barriers, and debris to block the drones' paths. The city itself seemed to rise in defense, inspired by the widows' bravery. One drone broke through, aiming directly at the help center. Lyra ran forward, timing her movement perfectly. She used the surrounding energy lines to disable it with a precise strike. Sparks flew as it crashed, the others hesitating for the first time. The citizens watched in awe, realizing that the widows were no ordinary heroes. They were leaders, protectors, and symbols of hope. Even the drone's controllers, observing from afar, paused, unsure if they could defeat such courage and skill. Corin landed beside the widows, nodding in approval. "You have proven that courage spreads faster than fear," he said. "The city is yours to protect now, but remember, the galaxy is watching, and not all eyes are friendly." The widows looked at each other, smiles mixing with determination. "Then let them watch," Lyra said. "We are ready for whatever comes." Yara and Sela nodded in agreement, their hearts strong, their spirits unbreakable. As the sun rose higher, casting golden light across Zephyria, the city seemed alive, not just with people, but with hope, courage, and admiration. The widows had survived fire, betrayal, darkness, and fear, and now, even as new threats approached, their legend had begun, a story that would echo across the stars. Somewhere in the galaxy, whispers began again. The widows of Zephyria, fearless, unstoppable, and rising. And Lyra, Yara, and Sela knew in their hearts this was only the beginning. Zephyria had grown quiet after the drone attack, but the silence felt uneasy. Lyra, Yara, and Sela stood atop the city's tallest tower, looking toward the horizon. The golden sun illuminated the streets below, but in the distance, a dark shadow moved across the sky. Corin appeared behind them, his face tense. "This is no ordinary threat," he said. "A fleet of alien warships approaches from the outer sectors. Their ships are massive, armed with weapons that can level cities in minutes. The Council did not send them. They come on their own." The widows exchanged glances. Fear gnawed at them, but determination shone brighter. "We cannot let Zephyria fall," Lyra said, her voice firm. Yara and Sella nodded, feeling the weight of the city on their shoulders. The warships drew closer, their engines humming, a deep, terrifying vibration running through the ground. Citizens ran in panic. Alarms blared across the city. Corin's shield flickered under the approaching energy waves. "We must act now," he shouted. "Prepare the defenses and evacuate everyone you can." The widows split up, Lyra coordinating the civilians, Yara gathering barricades and supplies, and Sella activating the city's emergency systems. Every second mattered. Every movement could save a life. From the sky, the alien fleet released smaller attack drones, hundreds of them, sleek and deadly. Corin deflected some, but many broke through, racing toward the city. The widows moved like a storm, dodging, guiding, and fighting back. Every citizen they saved fueled their courage. Then, a massive explosion shook the city's outer walls, dust and debris filling the air. The widows paused, hearts racing. "That was close," Yara whispered. "Too close." Lyra clenched her fists. "We will not let them destroy what we saved." Corin's energy field pulsed, holding off one of the warship's powerful energy blasts. But he looked worried. "I cannot hold them forever. The ships are too strong," he said. "You must reach the command center inside the fleet and disable them from within." The widows stared, shock and disbelief running through them. "Inside the fleet? How can we even survive that?" Sella asked, fear evident in her voice. Lyra stepped forward. "We survived fire, betrayal, and collapsing bridges. This is just another test. We are ready." Using a small, fast hovercraft, Corin transported them toward the alien fleet, weaving through laser fire and attack drones. Sparks flew, metal groaned, and explosions lit the dark sky. The widows' hearts pounded, but courage kept them moving. Inside the command ship, alarms blared and alien guards rushed toward them, but the widows moved with precision, dodging attacks, disabling systems, and hacking controls. Every move was calculated, every second mattered. They fought not just for themselves, but for Zephyria, for humanity, for hope. Finally, they reached the central control chamber, the alien commander glaring at them. "Humans, you dare enter my fleet?" It hissed. Lyra raised her hand, activating the override console. "We dare to protect what is ours," she said. Systems began to fail, shields dropped, drones crashed into each other, explosions rocked the ship. The commander screamed, but it was too late. The fleet lost control, spiraling into chaos, powerless against the widow's courage and quick thinking. Outside, Zephyria watched as the alien ships fell back, retreating into space. The city erupted in cheers, citizens running into the streets, celebrating. The widows stood atop the hovercraft, battered but victorious. Corin approached, nodding in approval. "The galaxy will never forget this day," he said. "You have shown courage beyond belief. Not just widows, but heroes of Zephyria. And beyond." Lyra, Yara, and Sella looked at each other, exhausted but smiling. They had faced fire, betrayal, collapsing bridges, drones, and now a galactic fleet. Yet in every challenge they had found courage, strength, and hope. The city of Zephyria shimmered under the morning sun, streets alive with cheers. Yet Lyra, Yara, and Sella knew that peace was never permanent. The air carried whispers of distant worlds watching, some in awe, others in envy. Their actions had made Zephyria famous across the galaxy. Corin stood beside them, his energy shield faintly glowing. "You have done the impossible," he said. "But now, the galaxy may test you in ways we cannot imagine." The widows nodded, a mix of pride and determination in their eyes. "We are ready," Lyra said, her voice steady. Yara tightened her hands into fists. Sella adjusted her badge, courage radiating from her very being. Suddenly, a massive hologram appeared in the sky, projected by the Galactic Council. Every leader, every world watching, waiting to see how humanity and these widows would respond. The voice of the Council echoed across Zephyria. "Humans, you defied diplomacy. You faced impossible odds. Who are you to claim such strength?" Lyra stepped forward, her gaze unwavering. "We are survivors," she said. "We are protectors of our people, and we will never bow to fear or threats." The council murmured among themselves, surprised by the confidence and bravery of these humans. The widow's story had reached every corner of the galaxy. Every trial, every act of courage now carried weight beyond Zephyria. Corin whispered, "Now comes the test of diplomacy, of courage, of heart." He gestured toward the widows, who moved forward together, their steps in unison, showing unity and strength. The council projected images of the alien fleet they had defeated, highlighting every victory, every daring escape, every life saved. The widows did not flinch. They did not boast. They let their actions speak. Yara raised her hand, pointing to the citizens of Zephyria. "Every life saved, every citizen protected, that is the proof," she said. We're not here for conquest. We are here for justice, hope, and courage." Sela stepped beside her, adding, "The galaxy watches us, yes, but it also learns from us. Fear cannot rule. Only bravery, unity, and heart will endure." The hologram of the council grew silent, deliberating, murmurs replaced by stillness. After long moments, the leader of the council spoke again. "Humans, you have shown strength beyond measure, courage beyond expectation, and hope that spreads across stars. The galaxy will respect you and remember you." The city erupted in cheers, citizens running into the streets, banners waving, lights flashing. The widows smiled, exhausted but triumphant. Their journey from poverty, rejection, and fear had led to glory. Corin approached, proud. "You have done more than survive. You have changed the galaxy's view of humanity forever." Lyra, Yara, and Sela looked at each other, tears forming, but smiles brightening their faces. They had faced fire, collapse, betrayal, drones, and warships. And yet, through every challenge, their courage had never wavered. The sun rose higher, casting golden light on the city, the streets alive with joy, whispers of their deeds spreading to distant worlds. The widows had become legends, symbols of hope and bravery, not just in Zephyria, but across the stars. And as they stood together, hand in hand, the city behind them and the galaxy watching, Lyra whispered, "We are no longer just widows. We are the future." Yara and Sela nodded, their hearts strong, spirits unbroken, and the galaxy for the first time realized that humanity and its defenders could not be underestimated. The widows had started as the helpless, but they ended as the unstoppable, their legacy written across the stars, and in every world, every city, every being, the name of Zephyria's heroes would never be forgotten. And deep in the stars, whispers began, spreading from system to system. The widows of Zephyria, fearless, unstoppable, the true protectors of humanity,